What is one of the biggest mysteries in Final Fantasy XIV? There's a lot to choose from, but for many players, it's the Heart of Sabik, an item name dropped all the way back in a Realm Reborn, only to disappear for a decade, and now we're finally getting some answers about the heart, where it came from, and how it's influenced some key characters. So let's dive into the Heart of Sabik and why we're seeing it resurface now. Be warned, this video includes spoilers for the Pandemonium raid series, the Return to Evilus raid series, a little bit of Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy IX. My name is Stout, and I hope you enjoy. The Heart of Sabik is first mentioned by the Ascian La Brea back in a Realm Reborn in 2013. It happens during the events in the Praetorium when the Warrior of Light, Cid, and their allies confront Gaius von Belsar of the Garlean Empire. Their greatest weapon is the Ultima weapon. La Brea reveals the heart is in the weapon's core, and when given large amounts of ether, will unleash a powerful spell. We're told the heart predates the Allegan Empire, which dominated during the Third Astral Era, many years prior to the main story. You can click the card in the top right for part 1 of my series on Alleg, but even their most brilliant minds didn't truly understand the heart. The best they could do was use it as an energy source. Ultima weapon has the ability to absorb primals, and we see that happen with Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda. La Brea speaks the incantation, and the spell Ultima is unleashed. La Brea says this spell is just a sliver of Zodiark's power. That's the Dark Primal the Ascians are working to resurrect. The damage from Ultima is massive. The spell leveled the Praetorium, a massive Garlean facility, and the landscape surrounding it. The fate of the Heart of Sabik wasn't revealed at the time when this event was the most current content. The next connection we get to the Heart of Sabik happens in Stormblood during the Return to Evilus raid series. Now, some of you may have missed this since the raids are optional content, and if you didn't do them, you should go do these quests. The story and the fights are fantastic. The story itself follows versions of characters from the Tactics series like Ramza. I say versions because this isn't the same timeline or world we know from other games. Consider the Evilus elements to be an entirely separate world that borrows parts of the lore, characters, and places from the original games. Everything is just adapted for Final Fantasy XIV. Most of these elements were designed by Yasumi Matsuno, the director and writer for Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy XII. The main antagonist for the Evilus story is Ultima, the High Seraph. She's an extra-dimensional being that was summoned to the source ages ago by Saint Ahura, the first of the legendary Zodiac Braves. These are heroic figures told in stories throughout Dalmasca, Garlemald, and even Radz-at-Han. Several Braves have existed throughout the ages. These legends are similar to the Warrior of Light from Eorzea. The High Seraph was summoned to destroy Malande, the capital city of the Holy Edoran Empire. Ultima sank the city beneath the waves and was eventually sealed away by Hydaelyn, but awoke centuries in the future. Ramza and his comrades worked to seal Ultima once again. There is a real-world collectible statue of Ultima, and the description gives us some extra details about her. It says mankind's fear of Ultima caused people to worship her, feeding the extra-dimensional traveler's empty soul until it brimmed with a force completely alien to her, a sense of self, making her a living primal. Ultima's triple triad card states she was once the embodiment of pure ruination, and that she was fed by the terrifying reverence of mankind, such that by a process not unlike the prayer, fueled the creation of a primal. The Light of Kiltia, also known as the Church of Aeokus, teaches that Ultima is a servant of their god, but they aren't the only ones who include Ultima in their religion. The sect of Germanique believes that Ultima is their god who will welcome them into heaven when they die. Now, this sect was deemed too heretical and banished from Dalmasca some time ago. Those followers were taken in by the 4th Imperial Legion as part of its forces. They wielded Oricite given to them by Ultima and sacrificed their members, since they believe their death will bring them one step closer to Ultima. Warrior of Light Mikoto tells us in patch 4.5 that there are similarities between Ultima the High Seraph and the Ultima spell. She speculates it may have served as inspiration for Ultima weapon. Jumping ahead to Shadowbringers, the Sorrow of Werlet is the trial series for that expansion. It follows Gaius again as he confronts important people from his past. The concepts of machines like Ultima weapon gets expanded upon with additions like Ruby and Emerald. This story reveals that the Heart of Sabik is a piece of Auracite, though to be fair, we sort of already knew that based on the original Japanese name for the heart, Black Auracite Sabik. We learn that the weapon series are powered by Auracite, which makes sense in the case of Ultima weapon. The Auracite itself can be synthetic or natural. We also learn the Auracite has the ability to pull the essence of dead people. Ruby weapon does this with Nail Van Darnas's essence. That brings us to patch 6.4 in Endwalker for the Pandemonium raid series. We're introduced to the ancient Athena, the chief key ward for the Pandemonium facility and La Habrea's wife. Athena possessed a brilliant mind and relentless ambition. Her dream was to ascend to godhood. She argued to her husband that holding that power could help even the ancients reach higher levels of magic and technology. She pursued this goal by carrying out immoral experiments on her own people. La Habrea saw how dangerous his wife had become, and a big influence on her ambition was the Heart of Sabik. La Habrea tells us she found the stone before Pandemonium was even built, and she coined the term Auracite because of what she found. She never told him where she found it, but he always suspected it wasn't from Atheris. But La Habrea also tells us that the heart possesses great power in influence. The heart magnifies the desires of those who come into contact with it. That played a big part in just how far Athena would go to achieve godhood. The heart's influence is sort of like how the super soldier serum is described in Captain America, the First Avenger.
But more important, the men. The serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great, bad becomes worse.
La Habrea didn't possess the power to destroy the heart, so he made plans to seal it away. But he was forced to confront Athena before that could happen, and ultimately took her life. Go watch my video on La Habrea's family for a discussion on that. La Habrea took the heart from Athena's lab to safeguard it, but unknown to him, prior to her death, Athena had imprinted her memories onto the heart as a failsafe. She intended for those memories to interact with her son, Erechthonios, in the future should the opportunity present itself. Her plans were to use Erechthonios as a vessel. So where is the heart now? It hasn't been seen since the events of the Praetorium. That's when La Habrea had it. So when the Ascian met his end in the etherochemical research facility on Aziz La, the Heart of Sabik was abandoned there. Athena's essence in the stone reached out to Claudion, a researcher of the Iotoscope and shard of Erechthonios' soul. It manipulated Claudion to go and get the heart. This allowed Athena to seize control of his body. The aftermath of the Pandemonium raid reveals Claudion still has the heart. He says there are no memories of Athena left inside. Claudion also speculates about the stone's connection to Ultima the High Seraph. He says they don't know the exact time of Ultima's visit to Atheris, but Athena somehow found the heart. Claudion says it contains ether unlike anything he's ever seen. Even a small portion of it could level mountains. He also presents the theory that the Allegan Empire and the High Seraph may have interacted at some point, and this could mean that the High Seraph was the source of countless tragedies over the years. Claudion concludes by telling us he feels like it's fate for him to keep the heart. He wants to study it further and can't wait to get started. And that is all the confirmed details we have about the Heart of Sabik. It's a stone of alien origin and possesses incredible amounts of ether. But this new information brings up new questions. Where did Athena find the High Seraph back in ancient times? Did this alien lure Athena with its tempting power, and if so, what was the reason? And when did Hydaelyn seal Ultima away? These lingering questions and Claudion's insistence on researching the stone himself is likely a plot point to be explored in the future. Claudion will need to be careful, given the power the heart has to amplify anyone's deepest desires. Now that we've covered the heart, let's speculate on how it could tie into future story chapters. A few Final Fantasy games include elements of extraterrestrial forces getting involved in their worlds. Maybe the Black Orsite is the soul of something similar to Jenova. That's the creature that landed on Gaia 2,000 years prior to the events of Final Fantasy VII. Jenova uses its cells to infect and mutate other creatures, and once a planet is destroyed, it uses that as a vessel to find its next target. Now in Final Fantasy XIV, Medion tells us of countless dead stars. We saw how some of those civilizations fell in the Dead Ends dungeon. Those worlds fell for different reasons, but perhaps some of the stars we didn't see were consumed by an alien force like Jenova. Final Fantasy IX also includes an extraterrestrial draining the planet. Terra was once a planet separate from Gaia, the main world of the game. Just to be clear, this is a different Gaia from Final Fantasy VII. Terra was a highly advanced magical civilization, sort of like the ancients from 14. Their society grew until an event known as the Decay, when vegetation and animal life began dying off. The Terrans wanted to preserve their world, so they developed the magical art of fusion. They would seek out younger planets to assimilate so Terrans could stave off the decay. Maybe the Black Orsite is something similar. Final Fantasy XIV has a history of borrowing and repurposing elements from the franchise. So tell me what you think. What's going to happen with the Heart of Sabik? Drop your crazy, insane theories in the comments. Also tell me what topic you want to see me cover next, and finally, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when new ones come out. Take care, warriors, and I'll see you next time.